Hi, I'm Hattie Young and I'm from Ffilm Ifanc.
And I'm Rebs Fisher-Jackson, also from Ffilm Ifanc.
And this is Lindsay Walker, the director of The Welshman. So Lindsay, what inspired you to make the film?
It actually came out of just pure good intentions, to be honest. My partner, he's my father-in-law, Owen Williams. And my partner asked me if I would just record him, telling some of his stories and just sort of capture it on film so she had something to sort of remember and listen back on in, years to come sort of thing. And I didn't know much Welsh history at all, really. My Welsh history knowledge was, non-existent. And as soon as he just started talking, I was just blown away by some of the stuff that was coming out of his mouth. And so I just thought, God, this needs to be turned into something cinematic, something that maybe hasn't, or a different spin on, because he's told the story a few times before, but not in this way. So the inspiration was just, pure intentions, very organic. So.
Yeah, and it's quite like a deep and maybe tough subject to talk about. Did you find that with filming, you kind of had to maybe go about it in a different way than other subjects?
There was a few moments that I think you can tell as well that obviously Owen is a bit more willing to be vulnerable because it's family in the room, which I think does shine through. And I think for me as well as a filmmaker, it was really important for me to make him feel at ease as well, obviously because there was that closer connection and I wanted to do people proud and to not kind of upset anybody and just let him tell the story how we wanted to tell it. We didn't really interrupt him at all. We let the camera roll for 2 hours straight, and to the point where it overheated at one point and it, completely cut off. All we've got is sound, and that's in the film. There's a section in the film where all we see is old archive footage of an aeroplane, and that's because there's no footage of him talking. It's just sound. We just let him talk and then it was a long edit process trying to piece it together, So.
And what was it like trying to find that archive footage?
Very difficult. The film's got no budget at all, literally zero budget, and I could have applied for a budget throughout it, and I just decided that it was better not to, just because of the subject matter. I didn't want anybody saying, oh yeah, we'll give you a couple of grand to get some archive footage, but you'll have to cut him out saying certain things, or we can't say this, we can't say that. And my main goal was to just let him tell the story I wanted to tell, and not have anybody tamper with that too much. So finding archive footage was difficult, but I did come across some, luckily, on the internet and on YouTube, and just asked, can I nab a minute of it, and luckily it was all sort of family footage that I'd found, and they were happy for me to use it. So,
yeah. And then obviously it's quite intimate because it's just him, isn't it? What was that like, kind of?
That was, for me, I prefer certainly telling stories like that, and probably watching them as well when they're more intimate and not too many voices sort of pitching in. I just prefer kind of breaking through. I think we get a different perspective on the story when it's just being told by one person, and also for me personally it calls more for the budget to just stay in one room with one person and then do some recreation stuff outside of that.
And then you're saying working with a small budget, for a lot of other filmmakers, that's kind of usually the case as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that like? How do you kind of go about that? And
I think for me as a indie filmmaker as well, and I've been making short films for 10 plus years, it's just kind of become habit. To me, filmmaking is just problem solving and problem solving and problem solving. And it's really nice to be able to showcase it and proudly say, we had nothing, we literally have done this on equipment that I've bought over the years. And it's obviously working with the budget as well is a privilege, but to do something like this and tell it, like I said, just through our voices is really special.
And then you had a team that you worked with?
Yeah, not a massive one. We've only got, I think in total there's 5 of us. So Enki at the back there, who is Owen's daughter, helped me produce the film. And then I've got a friend of mine who I've worked with for years on music, David Railton. I told him about 2 years, just as I'd started filming it, I said, I'm working on this film. And he instantly was like, oh my God, you have to send me a clip. And, he was already on it. He'd already started making a theme for it before any sort of editing had taken shape. So he's brilliant. And I asked 2 friends of mine who are really passionate about Wales and great landscape photographers to help me capture some of the landscape and locations. So that was it. Just us doing that. And then, Oshan, who plays a younger version of Owen, is actually Owen's grandson. And that came about really naturally as well. They were talking one day in the yard, and I thought, God, they look alike.
Yeah.
And so Oshan actually lives in Cardiff. He's an artist in Cardiff. And I said, how long are you here for? He doesn't visit often. And he said, I'm going tomorrow. I said, right, we got an hour or 2 and we'll do some filming, and we managed to get those shots. So, just all came together, just very natural, very organic. So,
yeah. And then, like in the settings that you shot in and things like that, what was that like? Was it quite inspiring?
I think I started out as a photographer, so my passion is kind of cinematography, or to certainly tell things cinematically. So just a nice sort of selection of lenses, and really that the feel of the film comes down to the edit. It's in the post-production, so sort of colouring it, because it was shot on 3 different cameras over 2 years, so trying to get all of that to match up came down to the edit really. That again, the edit was the longest process. It took me, well, I've been working on it for 2 years, so it probably took me a good 9 months during lockdown to edit it all together. So.
And why do you think it's important to kind of talk about these kind of subjects? And
I think in Wales particularly, it's important. As Welsh people, we're quite repressed about our history. We don't really talk about it very confidently, and we don't talk about it often either. And I think just for younger people coming through right now, to know that there are so many great stories in Wales to be told, whether it be in Welsh or English. And that's just inspiring I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and the first screening of the Welshman was at their school. I took out some of the swear words. And they all loved it, just even that, just to sit there, even if they don't quite understand it, but it's representation for them. And it's really important, I think, to tell stories from wherever you come from, but especially in Wales right now, it's a bit of a hidden voice. So it's really, really important.
Would you like something?
From the start, the first idea that you had, how long has it taken to get here now, where you're showcasing the film?
It's from the moment I started filming to the moment the edit was ready was 2 years, and then so now we're at 2.5 years by the time we've come to because we've just come into the end of our cinema run, and that's been going since May. So we've managed to get it into cinemas locally in Wales for the last sort of 6 months, which is brilliant. It's a good 2.5 years from the moment we started filming to, because like I said, we filmed for 2 hours straight, and then it was a bit overwhelming to go, oh my God, how do I do this? Because nothing was really linear either. The way that Owen kind of speaks, he's a great storyteller. It's here and it's there, and it's so try and sit down and piece it together in something that doesn't feel like there's too much information being thrown at people. It's just a lengthy, and I feel lucky enough that I had that time as well. I did start to really edit quite hard when lockdown hit, and I thought perfect time to sort of indulge myself in it. So yeah, a good 2 years from start to finish.
There's some really beautiful shots in the film, and you've used a lot of close-ups. Is that a deliberate choice because of the vulnerability of the story, or did the story inform the shots, or the shots inform the story when you were setting up?
I think the story probably informed the shots more. It was quite important. I think, like I said a second ago, Owain's such a great storyteller, but to really just focus on him, you know, that is quite a nice portrait of him. And so, yeah, when that was shining through in the edit, then all of the kind of recreation stuff, I wanted to feel like it was quite close in proximity to, I mean, there's one shot in the film that I always laugh at, and it was because of lockdown. So there's a shot in the film of the airport and an aeroplane. And I was filming at that site for a different thing for a TV show I was doing, and I always had my camera with me. And all day while we were filming, the planes were flying right over my head. I mean, so close, like really, really close. And I had a different camera that I was filming for a TV show, and every time I was like, oh, I just need to capture that plane so close. And I just couldn't get it, and I had to go back. I think it was the week later, and nothing was flying overhead, and I had to get the shot from. It was way over there, you know. And that's the one shot in the film that really bugs me, because it's not as close as everything else. It feels quite far away in comparison. Nobody else probably notices, but it really bugs me. It's the one thing I want to go back and try and get a better shot of the aeroplane.
Do you have any plans to do similar kind of films in the future?
I mean, I'm not a particularly political person, and I think a few people have asked, you know, anything else on the agenda sort of thing, but really I've got obviously a passion to tell Welsh stories, definitely. So my agenda at the minute is I'm currently writing the feature film for the Welshman, so a screenplay, because I just think that this is scratching the surface of Owain's story. There's a lot more going on there, and I think it would be great on the, you know, as a feature. So I'm writing that at the minute, and then I've got another documentary in the works at the second, so yeah.
Have you spoken to Owain with how the reception to the film has been? Because I have heard a lot about what happened with the flooding. It's been a massive resurgence over the last couple of years. So have you spoken to him about the kind of things that people have said once they've seen the film? Once they've seen the film? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really nice for him to experience it in this way. I mean, he's written his own book, and he's done loads of interviews over the years, but I think to have people respond, because people have responded so positively about the film, and I think that's quite nice for him. It's almost every week when we see him or speak to him, it's like, how's it doing, or you know, any more news, or when it's been in the newspaper and stuff like that. And he's been to a few screenings, so to see it on the big screen and have people kind of respond positively to it is quite refreshing for him. Yeah, it feels like a new sort of inspiration sort of coming forward, and I think that's nice for him to experience right now.
We've been really lucky enough to be able to see the film tonight. If someone wants to watch the film, how would they go about it?
At the minute, we've got a couple of screenings left in Wales in cinemas. My intention was to get it out locally to independent cinemas after COVID, you know, help people get back in the cinemas and stuff like that. So it's purposely not online. It will be at some point, but I'm trying to find the best way of distributing that online at the minute. So for now, there's a few screenings left at the end of this month, potentially 1 or 2 in October as well. And then after that, we'll have it online before the end of the year. But if not, then definitely early New Year.
Okay, brilliant. I think that's really great. Unless there's anything else you'd like to say?
I don't think so. Just thank you for having me. It's a great festival. So
yeah. It's been really interesting. Thank you for talking to us.